Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Ivan Herrera Show. I am so excited because it is week 7. I have 7 players to go over that you need to keep your eyes on. And I think one of the most intriguing ones is going to have to be Joshua Downs from the Indianapolis Colts. Josh Downs for me is someone who's very intriguing because he's coming off now 3 straight games where he's had at least 9+ targets in those matchups. He's also, so far in the season, first among all wide receivers in route win rate. He also has been 5th in target share at 33%. And also during that 3-game stretch where he's had 9+ targets, he's had a PFF grade of 89.7, which is first among all receivers. He's also had 25 receptions, has also been credited for 15 first downs, which has him tied for first. He's also caught all 25 of his catchable targets. Josh Downs is going to be facing a tough matchup with Miami. They currently allow the 3rd fewest points per game, but the key thing is I'm looking ahead because in week 8 and week 9 he has really favorable matchups. Houston allows the 13th most points to opposing wide receivers, while Minnesota allows the 3rd most, which is who they'll be facing in week number 9. Another player that I'm going to be focusing on is going to be Brian Thomas Jr. The rookies that we were all looking forward to begin the year were Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors, and for good reason, but Brian Thomas Jr. so far has been really making a name for himself. Currently he's 2nd among rookie wide receivers in overall fantasy points. Brian Thomas Jr. has now coming off 4 straight games where he's had 6+ targets, and he hasn't had any game this season with at least 4 targets as well. And when you just look at these advanced stats, he's also top 20 in fantasy points per target, currently having him ranked at 19th, and he's also top 10 in route win rate. And in week 7, he's going to be facing the New England Patriots, which means he's going to be seeing a lot of Chris Gonzalez, who should be shadowing him. But look at this though. New England has actually allowed the 7th most receptions to opposing wide receivers, as well as the 9th most receiving yards, and Chris Gonzalez, who should be shadowing Brian Thomas Jr., has actually allowed 0.39 points per pass route. And when you look at this screenshot over here from Mike Clay, this actually shows that this is not a favorable number, which means Brian Thomas Jr. should be slated for a pretty good game in week 7, someone that you should be starting and also maybe targeting for any kind of trade opportunities. Trading in fantasy football is awesome. It is even more fun when you see it happen in the NFL. And this week we saw the NFL make 2 big trades. We saw, of course, the Buffalo Bills trade for Amari Cooper, and that'll be the first player I'm going to be going over. So Buffalo is going to be sending a 6th-rounder as well as Amari Cooper. In return, they're going to be getting a 2025 3rd-round pick as well as a 2026 7th-rounder. But the main thing as to why this is really intriguing is because now the Buffalo Bills have the wide receiver 1 for Josh Allen. Buffalo Bills are actually 7th in points scored and 21st in yards gained. So obviously them getting Amari Cooper should bolster that offense because Buffalo actually has the fewest completions per game when targeting wide receivers. And check out this screenshot over here. You see Jacoby Brissett, Will Levis, Justin Fields, and then you see Josh Allen there as well. So of course, with Amari Cooper there, this is going to be a huge opportunity for them because right now, as it stands, prior to the trade, the Bills were actually 25th or worse in the following categories: targets, receptions, receiving yards, and receiving first downs. And when you look at the individual stats of Amari Cooper, despite being in a very porous Cleveland Browns offense, he was 5th in total route wins as well as 43rd in points per game versus him having to be top 10 in expected points per game. So obviously Amari Cooper is someone that was able to be in a position to get the points, but for whatever reason, because whether it be uncatchable balls that were thrown his way, he is now in a better situation with Josh Allen, and it should be a very interesting start in week number 7, especially rest of season. The second trade that we saw take place also this week was Davante Adams going from Las Vegas to the New York Jets to be reunited with quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Davante Adams got traded to the New York Jets after having a very ugly stint there with Las Vegas. He got traded for a 2025 conditional 3rd-round pick, and looks like the hamstring is not hindering him from making his debut this Sunday. And of course, a lot of the conversation right now is how is that target share going to look like, considering that the Jets already have Garrett Wilson? Because if you look at it right now, Garrett Wilson has had a top 5 target share at 30.3% while being number 1 in red zone targets as well as 2nd in receptions. And I expect all that to take a dip. Despite all those potentially taking a dip, what keeps me encouraged with Garrett Wilson is his strong ability to get separation. Currently among all wide receivers, he actually ranks 9th in total route wins. And I know that the last time we saw Davante Adams with Aaron Rodgers in 2022, Davante Adams was first in target share, he was second in targets, and he was fifth in red zone targets as well. And I know the debut isn't much of an intriguing one, being that they're going to be facing the Pittsburgh Steelers, but this is very interesting. I saw this out of Pro Football Network, and they shared what the wide receiver 1 and 2s were able to do versus their defense. And when you look at it over here, week 1, the Atlanta Falcons faced the Pittsburgh Steelers. We saw Ray McLeod outscored Drake London. In week 2, we saw the Denver Broncos, Josh Reynolds as well as Lil Jordan Humphrey outscore Cortland Sutton. In week 4, we saw Joshua Downs outscore Michael Pittman Jr. And in week 5, we saw Jalen Tober outscore CeeDee Lamb. Even with the expectations a little bit down for Garrett Wilson, I'm still very intrigued with this Jets offense because of the upcoming schedule that they'll be having. If you look at it over here, in week 8, they're going to be facing the New England Patriots. They have the Texans, the Cardinals, as well as the Colts before jumping on a bye in week 12. They will then also close out their season with a very favorable schedule versus the Seattle Seahawks, the Dolphins, the Jaguars, the Rams, and the Bills. And with this schedule, I don't care where Garrett Wilson is. I think he's still someone who's going to be a strong wide receiver 2 and a good option for this offense, even with Davante Adams there with the Jets. Hey, you've gotten this far into the video, and most of you that are watching actually aren't subscribed, so do me a solid. Hit that like button and subscribe. Let's go on to the next 2 players. And this next player is going to be Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs has been someone that I thought and we expected early on in the season was going to get a lot of touches, and we thought there may be some kind of threat to his work, being that we saw, of course, Marshawn Lloyd get drafted, and then, of course, during the season we saw Emmanuel Lewis. However, that has not been the case one bit. Currently, Josh Jacobs is 6th in weighted opportunities. He's 5th in yards created. Last week, he saw an 81% opportunity share while also seeing 70% of the snaps. He's been 3rd in carries while also being 12th in red zone targets. And of course, the lack of touchdowns have been the really big thing that have been hindering him from being an elite top tier running back. And currently he's 17th in expected points right now, and it's because of the lack of touchdowns that he's been getting. He should be at least having a few more, considering they had a few that were called back. But regardless though, currently he's ranked as the running back 21. His overall fantasy rank is at 76. Putting all this together, this is why I am really high on Josh Jacobs, not only for this week but also for rest of season. Now I have 2 more players I'm going to go over. I said I had 1 more left, but it's more of a backfield. It's going to be Chase Brown as well as Zach Moss. In the past 3 games, Chase Brown has had 12 plus touches. He's had 54 plus total scrimmage yards, and he's also had 14 plus fantasy points. However, what makes it also intriguing is that he's been very explosive, and with that also very efficient. Currently, he's actually 7th among all running backs in true yards per carry. But when you look at his counterpart, I get that last week was a bit of a tough week after having the fumble. He didn't see much after that, but he's had double-digit touches in every game this season except for what we saw last week. And Moss is still top 13 among all running backs in targets. He's top 12 in red zone targets. He's also 11th in snap share, and also is 22nd in EPA. So it's telling you that the volume that he's getting should be producing a higher output. So this offense for me, especially with this running back room, is going to be very intriguing to watch in week 7. And I think that both running backs have some kind of intrigue for me to want to have on the rosters. I don't know if I feel really confident starting Zach Moss. I probably would lean on more on Chase Brown, being that he has more of the hot hand and has been more explosive. But still, Zach Moss is someone that you should be keeping a close eye out for, especially in week 7. And of course, as the season goes on, because I believe it's more of a split backfield, and where you see Chase Brown as the 1A and Zach Moss as the 1B. Hey guys, you made it to the very end of the video. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me, considering that these videos require a lot of research, editing, but you made it. And with that, if you found value in it, do me a solid, hit that like button and subscribe. Best of luck to you in week 7. Take care. God bless. Peace.